Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing?
Fantabulous, still full.
Good deal. Did you take any leftovers home?
I did not. I had appointments after that.
Okay. Well, yeah, we want things to rot in your car.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's see. I don't get to see when we get many people on here. I'm still learning. John Lowe, are you going to drop a background on us?
I don't know. Let me try. Let's see how it looks right now.
All right, John's becoming our Zoom expert here. Watch out, he's going to tell us. Oh, now he's in
Caladesi Island.
Very fancy. All right, I am in the blank wall Regis office, as you can see behind me. So, all right, so let's see who we have. We got John, I got myself, we got Lottie. Hey, Lottie, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Brian Montez?
That's me. How are you guys?
Good morning. Renee, we spoke. How are you?
Good, good.
And Renee's younger cohort, flesh of her flesh, Dylan Mott, I see is on. Hey, Dylan.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm gonna expand a little bit to who else we got. I see Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. How was, did you get plenty to eat yesterday as well?
Still have leftovers.
Yeah. Because, you know, we had our cappers luncheon yesterday. So Renee was there. I know Rebecca was there. John was there. Once a year, it's a great time to get all of our cappers together. So that's always a fun time. Let's see. I see Jennifer Wilmich. Hey, Jennifer, how are you? You're muted, by the way, so you might want to unmute yourself. And then Deb Jennings. And I might be running out of space, so if I'm not calling you, I know Manuel, I see you. How are you, brother?
I'm doing good.
And he's here. And more of you, I don't know how to expand. I've got all the tiles available that I can tell, that I could see. So, oh, there we go. I can expand it sideways a little bit. All right, all sorts of good things. So we got Deb, we got Danny, we got Carolina. How are you? Good morning, Carolina.
Hi guys, how are you?
Great. And then Anna's here.
Good morning. I will be on the listen mode today because I will be in and out and I'm waiting for the call.
Yeah, no
then
problem.
I just like to hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Perfect. And on some of this, I'm going to go through some slides for us. Is anybody on here that was not at the at one of the first intro sessions? Anybody? If it's okay, if not, I'm just trying to grasp who we have. All right, so good. Looks like we got, and I don't want to cover things that we've already covered if we've got new people join us, but if they are, then they can play a little catch up anyway. So appreciate you, Delane. I had originally planned this for 10 a.m. I just got off another conference call. By the way, if you're a future home agent, pay attention. I'm going to be recording a session on it, a PowerPoint, but I'm on a committee that is at the National Association of Realtors for it's conventional financing policy committee. And there's a lot going on right now. I don't know if you know, but Fannie and Freddie, which are collectively called the GSCs, which are government services enterprises, right? Fannie and Freddie are in current conservatorship. They have been since 2009, early 2009. They're intended to be in conservatorship, meaning the government took over. Remember, if you learned in real estate class, unless you guys took it since 2009, which many of you probably did, they taught you that, you know, Fannie and Freddie are quasi-government entities, right? They're not really a government entity, even though they sound very governmental. Well, that quasi has kind of been removed for the last 10, almost 11 years now, because they have been under government control because they had to bail them out, right? In 2008, 2009. If you want to get more details on the bailout, go see the movie The Big Short. or go watch it on sometime if you get a moment. It's a great movie, by the way, if you really want to understand what went down, and potentially, the best way to learn from history is to learn so we don't repeat. So just not a bad thing to keep yourself aware of. But because of that, there's nothing probably going to happen in 2020 because nothing ever happens in an election year, right? Because everybody's afraid to do anything. But post 2020, once we have the next 4 years administration defined, whoever that might be, right? Then there's probably going to be at least an appetite for getting Fannie and Freddie out of conservatorship and some things. And I've done a lot of study on this, and I've learned a lot. And we have some, rest assured that we've got some really smart people at NAR. And when I say really smart, not necessarily our elected people, those are great people, but they're realtors. I'm talking really good policy wonk people that your dues go to pay for, that are on Capitol Hill on a consistent basis, and are really good at paying attention to what's happening. So I'm going to be doing a PowerPoint at our next office meetings, as well as recording one. I'm toying with it if I can keep it as short as possible, even banging through it and putting it on one of our Monday motivations, because we get a chance to reach even a larger group than future home agents. And that Monday motivation might be a little longer than my typical 1 to 2 minute, but be prepared. And it's just enough to keep you, I'm asking you to become an expert in it, but just become knowledgeable enough so that you're aware. So when, if you get a chance to be speaking with any of our elected officials, right, or it's something that we need to pay attention to, because Fannie and Freddie handle about 50% of all the mortgages, all the conventional mortgages, well, actually all the mortgages in the United States. And they have like $5.4 trillion of assets under their care. All right, it's a lot of money, right? It's bigger than our annual budget as a country, right? It's $5.4 trillion of assets under their care. And overall, housing represents about 15 to 20% of our economy, right? So it's a pretty big deal, right? So we need to pay attention to these things as much as we like to kind of la, stick our fingers in our ear. Know that there are some really good people looking after us, and I'm one of those, right? That I'm paying very specific attention to this, and on some committees, and probably be chairing some committees going forward as we do some of this stuff. So I encourage you to do that. So looks like we got a bunch of people that have joined us, so I'm glad we're on board. Let me pull up our PowerPoint for this. Like I said, most people I think have been in our, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. So I may not, if you're speaking, I may not see who's speaking. So bear with me on that. I'm going to pull up our PowerPoint that we're going to go through, and I want to knock through a couple things. If you remember in the end of our last session, or the intro session, we talked about the structure of the upcoming meetings. And the idea was to spend about 20 minutes of hardcore focus on what we call corn planting, and then another 20 minutes of hardcore focus on orange groves kind of stuff. And then from there transition into really what are we going to do now? How are we going to implement this, right? Where's our accountability? All that kind of stuff. Because let me start with the fact, and I think we covered it in the intro sessions, but let me remind you guys that all the good ideas in the world unimplemented are worthless, right? We continually tend to get really good ideas because there's a lot of really good ideas out there. But whatever it is, remember the overall goal of our 100K is to find something that you feel comfortable doing, right? And actually motivates you and push you sometimes to do it, right? Not just think about it, not just talk about doing it, just like, hey, that'd be a really good idea sometime, right? But if you're looking to go, because remember 100K is a select group, right? Those guys that were at the 120 or so that we had at our cappers lunch yesterday, all right, are a very specific group who decided to make it happen, right? And it wasn't by chance. They didn't luck into this. They didn't fall out of bed and do 22 transactions last year, right? They did it by a very specific, organized, dedicated method to attacking this business. And if you're going to make 100 grand, again, we just use that as a number. It's not going to be by happenstance, right? I think I told you last time, or I know I at least told the last group, I just finished up my MBA last year in 2019. And in all of my courses, none of them were titled How to Run Your Business Flying by the Seat of Your Pants, right? None of them were the willy-nilly approach to success, right? It was all about, hey, look, you got to have a defined, structured plan, and you've got to have a plan to follow the plan. Are you with me? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right, so let's dig in real quick. I want to remind us that if you remember this slide from the very beginning, says I kind of described what it might look like to make 100 grand, enjoy the business, and we said, okay, that sounds great, but how are we going to do it? And just remind us, here's our MO. This is simple. I got this, right? We're not going to overcomplicate. We're going to study those who are doing it and have done it. We're going to cheat. Right? We're going to copy other people. We're going to learn from each other. And then when I say the room, that's the full room. By the way, real quickly, while I got you, here's what I'm learning. You know, we got a nice large group here, so that's great. What I'm learning, these Zoom sessions are real convenient, right? Agreed? You don't have to, most of you are muted, right? And I love
it.
I love the convenience of these, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Extreme danger in getting too comfortable, right? Because it's real easy to convince yourself that what you're doing is enough because you're the only person in the room. All right, I'm just gonna, call a spade and call, it out what it is, right? That I have no problem doing this. I'm gonna highly encourage you, again, to always have an accountability partner that you're working through this with, number one. Number two, ideally, that you could find a group that even if you don't meet to do these meetings together, that I'm talking a group of 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 max, right? That you guys can meet on a consistent basis and really hold each other accountable as a group as well, all right? Because there's power, there's value. This business is hard enough. It can really, frustrate you at times, all right? I was on the phone yesterday on the way home from the Cappers lunch with a very frustrated agent who lost a deal to, a buyer who found a for sale by owner, and very frustrated. But it was just nothing else but good for her to be able to dialogue with somebody on that, right? And say, hey, look, you know what? I want you to hear my frustration, right? And maybe learn and say there are other things we could have done differently in the future to avoid that, right? So I'm going to just encourage you to learn from others in the room. Nothing wrong with this, but to make sure that we're seeking times that we can get together, right? And sometimes it can just be socially, right? If nothing else, hey, let's go meet for happy hour sometime and just get together as a small group. Hey, there's a bunch of us that are going through 100K and we all live in Clearwater, so let's find a place and go there, right? Or something. There's value. Okay.
Ready.
All right. So learn from others in the room. Submit to the law of the harvest, right? I mean, we can't expect to reap if we're not going to sow, right? It's in violation of God's law. It can't happen. So we can't expect to harvest. We're going to learn from our mistakes, which means it's okay to make them. We're going to grow personally, right? It means we're going to get better at us, because the better I am at me, all right, the more attractive I become, because we're going to, if you remember, one of our overall goals is to learn to attract business, not chase it, right? But in order to attract it, I've got to be attractive, right? Okay, feed off the synergy in the room, all right? What's going to happen is people are going to begin to implement. And as they implement, that's a great thing, but you're going to see them implementing and benefiting from that. And you're like, dadgummit, why don't I implement, right? It's motivating to see other people in the room come in and share success stories, right? And tell us, how excited they are about what they've got going on. Stop making and accepting our lame excuses. We're going to live in accountability. We're going to turn off the TV, which includes the TV on our phone, right? Speaking to myself as well. We're going to live a disciplined life, learning that there's freedom and structure, that the more structured I can become, the freer I actually have. I end up having more time available to myself when I actually structure smaller portions of my day, right? John Lowe, I just hearkening back to our idea of just win the morning, right? If we can win the morning, boy, that'll really set you apart from your competition, number one, and potentially get everything done you need to do to win the morning so that you can then have a freer afternoon, right? Go spend some time. That's when the wind kicks up anyway, John, so you can go do some windsurfing in the afternoon because you've won the morning. All right. Actually implement this time. Don't just talk about it. All right. If I had $1 for every time an agent told me that this is their time, this is it, this is their line in the sand, right? And then they never do anything. I get it. I've done it myself in certain things that I've been trying to attack, right? But realize the law of the harvest says that there's no way that we can, accomplish. By the way, the law of the harvest, I was reminded again. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was quick. So I'm just going to pull up my Bible real quick on my phone. I read the Proverbs all the time, but I think it's in Proverbs 14. Let me see if it's at it. It says it a couple different times. Here's right. Proverbs 14:23. You ready? All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Ouch. It's right there. It's in the Bible, right? That's my Bible, by the way. I have another Bible as well, but that's my Bible I get to carry with me, right? Proverbs 14:23. All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. It's exactly what we're saying, right? Is that don't just say it, do it, right? We're tired of hearing you say it anyway, all right? And you're tired of hearing yourself say it, by the way. I know that. Okay. Trust the process. Remember we talked about just following the recipe, right? People have done it ahead of us. We're just going to follow their recipe. We're going to evaluate our progress. Remember we talked about our trip to the moon where we're going to take a look at our progress on a consistent basis, not waiting till 3/4 of the year to decide if we're going to look at our goals for the first time, right? We're going to actually review those and see if we have where we are. And we're going to teach a weekly analysis, right? We call it the Sunday night ritual, which if you started reading the book, you should have at least familiarize yourself when I say the Sunday night ritual, what that means, right? Okay, cool. All right, so new business out of thin air, corn planting. How many of you, I'm going to open this up so I can see you at least head nod, or now not all of you are on camera, so if you're muted or if you need to chime in, give me a hand wave. How many of you could use more business to close in the next 45 days than what you have on the books right now? Okay, John's got a hands up, thumbs up. All right, I see some hands up and or acknowledgements, right? Those of you who are not sharing your camera, that's totally fine. You're allowed to not share your camera, that's okay. Rebecca went and got more comfortable. You got to be sitting on your couch now. Very nice. That's perfect. Good
I have a migraine, so I'm kind of, I'm getting cozy.
Well, I appreciate you being here. That's no fun to do that. So, all right. So with that in mind, okay, I know of no better way, and I'd love to tell you I had a magic pill that you could take that would be different than this. But if you're looking for business right now, yes, you can go find listings, right? Go for it. I totally, you get my approval. Go do that. But that's easier said than done. But if someone came to me this morning and said, hey, Bob, I'm really in desperate straits and I need like commission right away, right? I need to put something under contract. This is what I tell them to do, right? What I'm going to show you right now. All right. Period. End of statement. Make no qualms about it. And the beauty is it's not going to, well, if you don't have open house signs, it might cost you the cost of open house signs. But I bet you there's so many people that have gone through 100K that haven't implemented it, but they said they were going to, and they bought signs. They probably have them in their garage and they'd be happy to let you borrow them. All right. So you can be even free. All right. So here's what we're going to do. This is simple. I got this. Remember, we talked about if you're going to last in the business, you better, most people would tell you list, and that's fine, but we aren't going to go that way. We're going to work with buyers. Because a qualified buyer, hear me out when I say this, a qualified buyer, and we'll talk about that on the next slide, what I call a qualified buyer, right? A qualified buyer who is ready to go is a commission waiting to be cashed, period. End of statement. If you know what you're doing, right? A listing, now don't get me wrong, we're very much in a seller's market. So if you could procure a well-priced listing, all right, you can get ready to cash that check too, right? Because those things are flying off the market. That's good news, right? But in short of us having, your aunt reach out to you and say, hey, look, I need to list my home, right? Then what are we going to do in the short term? All right. Well, I teach, and what we're going to learn here, this is what our core is working with buyers. And what we're going to show you to do is have what we call traffic generating events. And these traffic generating events can be a myriad of different things. Right. I think I referenced in most of the opening sessions when we went through 2 weeks ago that I promote heavily open houses. And the reason I do so is because when someone walks into an open house, and I say that as opposed to what? As opposed to some people come to me and they have this great idea. They're going to, go to a networking event and call that their traffic generating event, right? Nothing wrong with that. You actually are face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball with people. That's a great thing, right? The problem is that it's very hard. If I'm at a fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club of America, right? And I'm at the Clearwater chapter fundraiser, and that's going to be my traffic generating event. Then how do I get off of, hey, let's help these kids to, oh, by the way, I'm a realtor, right? It's very hard to transition into that, and or you're not talking to a captive audience. When I say a captive audience, I mean, these people haven't raised their hands saying I'm ready to buy, right? For me, when somebody walks into an open house, it's safe for me to assume, and I'm going with the assumption, that they have some level of interest in real estate at that moment, okay, right? That's why there's no worry about me trying to nurse and cajole or get to the topic of real estate. It's like, hey, look, you're in an open house, let's talk real estate, right? I mean, we can catch up, I can get to know you a little bit, but that's gonna take about 37 seconds. After that, let's get down to business. And why are you here? Why did you stop in? Why did you pop into my bank foreclosure open house, right? Why did you pop into the, Treetops $980,000 open house, right? Because I want to know, are you here to just to case the joint? Or are you here to actually potentially buy the place, right? So it's a very, very, different attitude, right? So that's the thing I like about open houses. We call them traffic generated events because I don't care where you get face-to-face with people, just get face-to-face, right? We use bank-owned open houses. Now, again, I could go through the long story of how I discovered these, but it was my second weekend in the business. My first weekend, I did a regular open house and met nobody. This is back in 1993, all right? Literally 3 people in 2 days, none of which, 2 were neighbors that had no desire to buy real estate. And the third one was a dude who rolled up on a 10-speed that couldn't get a library card, much less a mortgage, right? Okay, so I was like, okay, well, that was a failure. Those 2 days wasted, right? And I only had I had 10 weekends to make this work, or I was going back to teaching. So I, just by chance, this is, again, dating, and I'm looking at some of the people on the list here, probably don't even know what I'm talking about when I say a newspaper, an actual physical newspaper with paper and ink, right? Okay. I opened up the newspaper the next Friday morning and saw a list of HUD foreclosures. They were FHA loans gone bad. I learned through the process, and I dug in and found out that I could sit open houses at these properties, right, as long as I reserved the spot. That Saturday, I sat an open house, these were at the time very specific rules because it was government, right? So it had to say government resale open house. That's all it could say. No foreclosure, no steal of the century, none of that, right? It just had to say government resale open house. So I put those out. I got there at like literally 9 a.m., started putting my signs out. I had 3 people follow me into the open house as I was putting the signs out. And that day I met 36 people through, all right? And so I was a math guy, right? And I said, okay, I met 3 people in 2 days. That's one opportunity. Or I can meet 36 people in 1 day. I'm going to go with 36 in 1. All right. I'm going to increase my chances. My statistics class wasn't that long ago. And it tells me that I increased my chances of meeting somebody who's going to meet the 4 criteria. I didn't even know what those were, by the way, but I'm going to share with you later. But I kind of created the 4 criteria pretty much that weekend. All right. No one taught it to me. I just learned that, hey, look, if I'm going to survive in this business, I better have some criteria. If I'm going to meet 36 people, I got to pick and choose who I'm going to work with. And they've got to step up to me, not me to them. They've got to prove to me that they're worth me working with. It's a lot of probably ended a sentence in a preposition and all sorts of things. So forgive me, but there, you know, it's that they deserve my time and effort, right? I shifted to that mindset like weekend number 2. All right. And that's going to, some of you have been 8 years in the business and haven't shifted into that mindset, right? That person has to convince me to work with them, not vice versa. And it's hard for a lot of people. It wasn't hard for me because it was just maybe more natural because I did it my second weekend, right? Or maybe just because I figured I don't have any time to waste, right? And I was tired of teaching geometry to kids who didn't want to learn geometry, right? So I had maybe more motivation than others, but I just, you know, figured out a way. So I sat these bank-owned open houses. And again, there's no reason, by the way, any open house is good. The only reason I teach bank-owned open houses is because it's been my experience that more people come, right? It's sugar that brings the ants. It's the perception of the deal of the year, right? They're driving down the road and they think, oh, I saw an infomercial that said I could buy a house for $1, right? Or whatever. So they come rolling in, and it doesn't matter to me why they're there, right? But once they're there, now I'm face to face, eyeball to eyeball, and I'm going to win that. I'm going to win that interaction every time. Remember, we talked about that eyeball to eyeball beats pixel to eyeball every day of the week, right? Where they could be seeing agent, you know, John's Zillow Premier Agent ad all morning long, right? On their feed as they're going through searching Zillow, and then they get in their car and they go out to an open house and meet me. I'm going to beat that dude every time because I get a chance to be face to face with them, right? And it didn't cost me a dime, right? It didn't cost me other than my time, right? So it's a good way to look at it. And we'll talk about that now. And we're going to end this session with how do I get a bank-owned open house? I'm not an REO agent. How would I even get one of those? We'll talk about that. I can walk you through the process of how we go about it because it's changed over the years, changed from when I did it, okay? Now, traffic's one thing, right? And can you guys see when I bring you guys back on screen? Do you see that? Okay, sorry about that. If I'm moving it around too much on you, I just got to see my own PowerPoint. If it's moving, I just like to be able to see faces sometimes when I'm talking. I feel like I actually am talking to somebody and not just my computer. It's one thing to have traffic, right? It's quite another to convert that traffic, right? Because all the traffic in the world unconverted is just a bunch of traffic. Right? Okay. It's names on a list. And let me correct many people's, I don't know if it's a wives' tale or a fallacy, or I see mistakes that agents make all the time. And they will tell me I had a great open house because I've got, and they show me a list. I've got 42 people that signed in, right? Or whatever it is. It is, and it is a force of habit because that's what you're taught to do, right? Get them to sign in, all right? For me, I could care less if they sign in. You know what I wanted? I wanted people calling me back, not me following up with them following up with me and say, hey, Bob, I really liked what you had to say in that 38 seconds that we had a chance to talk at the open house, and I'd like more information and how can I actually achieve what you just described to me in that short time we were together, right? Like what? Yeah, because for me, I didn't have time. If I'm meeting 36 people, now again, things have changed. It's not 1993, all right? I get it, right? And I adjusted as I went because I sold all the way through 2005 or 6 at least doing this, by the way. It wasn't like I had developed. You know, if people ask me, well, would you? No, I didn't change my MO. Matter of fact, I got to tell you, if all hell broke loose and everything went to hell in a handbasket and all the agents left Future Home Realty, like, you know, to the latest, greatest, next thing, and I had to go back out and sell again, you know what the first thing I'd do? Go sit a bank-owned open house. I guarantee it. All right, I guarantee it. That's how I would get myself back into the realm of actually working with buyers and sellers again. Okay. Now, I've got also a sphere of influence. I've worked those. That's what the Orange Grove's all about, right? But I wouldn't stick closely to only that, right? I would go do this. Now, again, some of you are in a position where you're busy enough and your sphere's bringing you business. I get it. That's cool, right? tune me out for the next whatever minutes we talk about corn. But those of you who are looking that, hey, look, I need to get some stuff going like now, all right? This is what I do. I can't tell you anything else. This is what I do because A, it doesn't cost any money. It just takes time and effort, and you got to get good at converting this. Now, here's the beauty of converting the walk-in traffic is when you have more traffic, you get better at it, right? If the more chances I get at converting, right, then the better I get. I could, ooh, that didn't work. All right, let me, you know what, that line, I'm not so sure I'd say that again, right? Or let me, you know, the beauty though is that if you've got a steady flow of people rolling through, you're not tied to any one outcome, right? When you've got one person rolling through your open house that day, right, you better nail it, all right? Because if you don't nail it, you just lost your whole opportunity for the day. But if you can find a way to generate a steady flow of people rolling through, plus when there's more people rolling through and they're all in there at the same time, they've got this whole idea of, boy, I've got to earn the right. It's psychologically, right? Hey, what if they get a deal? It's the I'm catching up with the younger crowd's lingo, FOMO, right? It's fear of missing out, right? All right, it's the fear of missing out. Like, hey, man, wait, is he going to start looking at property with that guy? And what, you know what? He's talking about down payment assistance and all these kind of things, or buying an investment property, or he's sold lots of help people buy a lot of investment property, you know, with little or no money down. How'd that all work? You know, he's talking about things that are tickling my ear, but I got to get in there, right? Because I'm going to FOMO, right? I got this, you know, I'm going to fear of missing out that something that somebody else is going to have, right? And that's what traffic does. When you got a bigger crowd, right? Just listening to an interesting book right now called Water for Elephants. Anybody read that? Somebody on the book club asked what the book was for our next book club. And she says, I don't know what the book is. Someone who doesn't come to book club says, I don't know what the book is, but Water for Elephants is really good. So I just said, hey, let me check that out. So I started listening to it, and it's all about this dude who in the Depression worked on a circus, like an off-market, not Ringling Brothers, but the Ringling wannabe circus, right? And he's now 93 telling his story. Pretty interesting. It's a little foul-mouthed and that kind of thing. So, you know, if you're offended by poor language, I have to turn. I don't listen to it with my 13-year-old in the car. Let me put it that way. But it's pretty good. What it reminded me though is that it's one of those carnival. I'm not saying that you're supposed to be a carnival barker, right? When you're at your open house, but there is value in the, hey, I don't want to miss out, right? So I'm going to go pay my quarter to make sure I see the bearded lady, right? I don't want someone saying that they get to see the bearded lady and I didn't get to see the bearded lady, or, you know, or whatever it was, the man with all the tattoos, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, you're not a carnival barker, but there is that part of psychology that says people don't want to miss out if they see other people potentially getting something that they want, okay? So it's good about having traffic. As you're becoming an expert in investor buying, we talked about that. We will revisit our investor buying. There's our classes online, how to speak the language of an investor. It's not necessarily, matter of fact, it's not, the class does not teach you how to help people find buy and flips. We'll cover that on the next slide. Anybody working with investors right now that want to flip properties? Anybody? Okay, perfect. All right. Don't waste your time, right? I mean, or if you're going to do it, then do it yourself, right? Okay, you know, yeah, that's right, Rebecca. You're representing your husband, right, Rebecca? Right, the flipper. But yeah, so if you're going to find, you know, because people would come into my open houses, I learned pretty quickly, like, hey, yeah, Bobby, sounds great. You're a real energetic guy. I was the only 24 at the time. You're energetic. Hey, so if you find something that I can maybe buy for 100 grand, maybe put 20 grand into it and sell it for 180 or 200, let me know. I'm like, yeah, I'll let you know after I did it. Right? You know, I'm not gonna, he's like, what? Well, what are you talking about? I said, so what you're telling me is I can make 3% of 100 grand, right? Or I can make 60 grand in profit by flipping this place. Yeah, if I find that needle in the haystack, I'm not telling you about it, right? I'm gonna go buy that needle myself. Thank you very much. And go make it happen. So that being said, these investors that, you know, that want to work with you, first of all, be careful in I don't know if we talked about Texans have a great term. I'm never from Texas, but Texans have a great term to say, be careful of people who are all hat and no cattle, right? All right, if you can picture, they wear a big hat, right? They got the big belt buckle. They come rolling up in their, you know, 28-foot long Cadillac, right? All ready to impress you, right? And they got no cattle back on the ranch. Matter of fact, they have no ranch, right? So that's what they're taught to do, though, is to impress you, right? Because they went to a Ron LeGrand seminar saying here's how you buy houses with other people's money, right? And they think they're going to be the next great, you know, real estate guru. All fine and dandy, right? If someone claims that they're going to, hey, look, you know what, take care of me on this deal. When I buy 4, I'll make sure you're really taken care of on number 5. Say, how about this? Let's do 4 first, and then I'll take care of you on number 5. All right, let's flip the script here. All right, and go that direction. But there are groups that are true investors, and what I call investors are buy and hold people, right? Nothing wrong with flipping, by the way, but if you're going to work with people, I think you can educate them well on how to be a buy and hold investor. And that's what our class online, FHR University, teaches, is how to speak that language for buy and hold people, right? Okay, so we'll work on that. Let's see, work first-time home buyers with vigor. A lot of you know how to do that. Go to all, you know, make sure you're aware of opportunities that are out there with down payment assistance and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually we're going to list, but we'll list, if we do this method, we're going to list by referral only, right? Where people are just going to come to us because of relationships we've established. And we're not going to have to, what I call, stop dancing for your dinner, right? Where we're not competing against the other 5 people in the room or that have been there already, trying to convince them that I'm the better one to list their property, right? There's still that happening, I get it, but wouldn't it be a lot easier, Margot, to just walk in and have someone say, here's my listing, what do you think I should list it for, right? And I trust you because you took care of my niece, right? And she says that I need to use you as my realtor, okay? That's a win right there, every time, right? So that's a lot better than having to try and convince them that you are the best out of the other 14,000 realtors in your area, right? Okay, to do it. Because when you start competing with the other 14,000 realtors in your area, number 1, you're having to commit to things you may not want to commit to. And number 2, you're going to get beat up on price, right? Whereas if it's a natural flow through an introduction, usually commission amount is, it's an issue, but not the same issue it is if, hey, the guy over here said he'd do it for 5.5. Well, the guy over here said he'd do it for 5. The next thing you know, we got a reverse bidding war going down for your services, right? So just a better way to go about it. Cool. All right, so we're going to list by referral, and this is simple, and I got this. So here's a conversion, right? How do we convert? Number 1, okay, let me make sure we understand this. I'm not sure where our level is and people who've had closings or not, but you know you don't get paid for having a list, right? You can't, nowhere in our paperless pipeline does it say, hey, upload your list from your recent open house and we'll make sure your check's ready for you, right? Okay, we get paid on closed deals, period. I'm going to bring everybody up so I can see you. Those of you that I can see, can I get at least a head nod? Everybody understand that's how we're paid, all right? We're not paid by the hour. We're not paid by the mile. We're not paid by the lunch they want. All these buyers want you to buy them while you're out looking at properties. We're not paid by any of that, all right? We're paid by the closed deal. Rebecca.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm hearing a lot of feedback from some unmuted.
Okay, let me see if I can hear who that, or see who that is. I can usually tell if there is green. Not seeing it right now. Is anybody else getting feedback? Or I heard some background noise. If you hear your background noise, if you guys could go ahead and mute yourself just to make sure.
It sounds like it's somebody driving in a car.
Okay, could be, and that's fine. If you could just mute yourself so that we don't have to worry about that. And then if we are, then we can unmute you as if you need to add in. Thanks, Rebecca. And by the way, my goal is I'm going to open this up because I want to hear from you as we start talking later about how do we get these open houses. But I don't want to, I want to get this information out. So thank you. All right. But everybody understands, I got the affirmative from most people that I can see that yes, we get paid on closed deals, right? Okay, there's no other way to get paid in real estate. All right. I guess, well, there are other ways you could take these advance fees and all that kind of stuff, but whatever. All right. Good luck with that. All right. Again, mindset shift. You have something they need, not vice versa, right? Many of you are sitting open houses and approaching relationships with your potential buyers with, you need them to buy a home, right? You need to go with the idea is they need you to buy a home. One of our agents from Jacksonville shared with me, I was sharing with some of the group, one of the tables I was sitting at for a brief moment yesterday at the Cappers lunch. And I thought it was a great analogy because they were talking about whitewater rafting, right? And I heard one of our Jacksonville agents, and that's the analogy he uses, right? Renee, you were at that table, right? Yeah. We're talking about, that's the analogy he uses regarding explaining the process to somebody about the home buying process, right? Is that he says, hey, have you ever been whitewater rafting? They're like, oh yeah. Do you remember, were you a little nervous because you had your helmet on, life jacket on, because you're going down and you hadn't been down that river before, right? And you're kind of, it's a little nerve wracking, right? Because you hear the one-off real odd horror story, right? If you know that of something that happened to somebody. And so it's fun, it's invigorating, that's why you're there, but there's always that sense of just, a little intrepidation, right? Hey, what if I hit a rock? What if, I get knocked over? What if we overturn? All that kind of stuff, right? So you have fear and intrepidation, but the reality is the dude in the back, your guide, that's like his 5th time down the river that day, right? And he says, hey, look, I'm your guide, right, in this real estate transaction. Think of me as your whitewater rafting guide, because there are rocks out there. There's really tricky spots that I know are coming up, like the appraisal or the home inspection or the financing contingency. I know there's some times coming up that we've got to be aware of. Other times it'll be nice, smooth, calm parts of the river, right? But we're going to get to some rougher parts, and I know where the rough parts are. I know we need to stay to the right of this rock, but get inside the left of that rock, or we're kind of in trouble, right? But I know how to take care of that, right? And I thought it was a great analogy that people can lock into as to why they need a real estate agent, right? Why do I need a real estate agent? Well, the reality is it's going down a whitewater river, and you do need somebody that's been down the river before. I told that table that I used to teach. I used to use just a one-off line that said, who better to follow through a minefield than someone who had been through the minefield, right? But that's a little more morbid, right? Because I used to joke that, hey, you ever wonder why I have half an arm, right? It's because I stepped in the wrong spot one time. So, right, and I said, I'm here to help you not step in that spot, right? I think this is a much better analogy about going through, because once a minefield, once I guess a mine goes off, it's not going to reset itself. Whereas that rock is always a potential issue, even if I went whitewater rafting tomorrow, same river. Right? And so I think it's a better analogy. So maybe start to incorporate stuff like that, right? These are things, especially with first-time home buyers, right? If you can give them that sense of calm and get them sold on you as their guide, right? No, you're not a real estate salesperson. I'm a real estate guide. That's why we call ourselves real estate consultants, right? Rather than salespeople. I'm just here to guide you down this river and make sure we have a good time and get it to the end safely, right? All right, and that's our goal here. And we get there. So just FYI, but they do need a guide, right? So you have something they need, right? I'm not a big guy on scripts, but if you're looking for something, all right, lock this one in. By the way, we're recording this, so if you ever want to go back and watch anything that we're going through and say, we'll put this up later. Mara always puts these up. But here's when I say what I call it, this is the best deal anywhere script, all right? Especially if I got a first-time home buyer, this worked for me like gold, and I guarantee it would work still to this day. You got somebody that say, hey, look, Rebecca, I just see you, so I'm going to pretend like you're the first-time home buyer. Hey, Rebecca, if you get a chance, I know you're currently renting and looking to potentially get to own. I said, I don't know if you're aware, but being a buyer in the real estate transaction is literally the best deal anywhere. And I say that because, do you understand this? That the seller pays me to work for you. That line worked like gold for me because I could see their lights go on like, because they're, especially agents or clients who don't know, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to work with her. What if I hire him? How much is it going to cost me, right? But the reality is, if you get this out early, all right, it's that thing, and again, I discovered in my second week into the business, right, that it worked for me. No one taught it to me. I just said, hey, look, here's the beauty. You don't have to pay me a dime. Once you convince me that you're worthy of me, of my efforts, then you don't pay me a dime. And get even better, I said, it's like the defense attorney paying for the plaintiff's attorney, right? To work for it. I said, where else are you going to get that gig, right? That's the best deal ever. And I would literally say that and get, do a little head nod, get them nodding their, those sales techniques that we know, right? I said, can you imagine that? Did you know that? I even asked them, did you know that, right? And some of them like, oh yeah, of course I knew, which they probably didn't know, but they don't want to act like they don't know.
They know everything.
Right? Exactly. But even so, you get that idea out there. And I'm just telling you, if you could lock that in, it's not a 45-minute script. It takes me all of about 7 seconds to deliver that whole script. And that's something, and I would practice that. If you haven't done that before, I'd practice the whitewater rafting kind of concept and make it sound like you, right? You don't have to say it like me, but make it sound like you. And then practice that whole idea of, and maybe even now I just thought of it, relay it back to the whitewater guide and say, hey, look, if you go down the whitewater river, usually you have to pay to get the guide, right? Here's the beauty, is somebody else is paying for your guide for you. Isn't that cool, right? I can be your guide and someone else is paying me to be your guide. What a great, where else are you going to get that gig, right? It's just, for me, it was like a no-brainer. I was, those of you know me long enough to understand that I'm, have a fairly high opinion of myself, all right? The version going from self-assurance on the edge of cockiness, right? But the self-assurance, I mean, I'll tell you this, I don't want to go down to Whitewater River with the guy in the back saying, well, I think I know where we're supposed to go, right? It's like, hey, you know what? We'll see what happens, all right? We'll figure this out together. Like, no, that's not what I want to hear, right? I want a dude in the back or the gal in the back that says, hey, look, don't worry, I got this, right? That's why you chose my raft, right? Is because I got this. And that's the attitude you want to portray to them. I want a self-assured whitewater guide, right? I don't want somebody that's questioning themselves, and you need to be the same way. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right, let's see. So that's part of that script. Okay, let me move you guys over a little bit more. All right, here we go. Establish rapport quickly, then get down to business. We're not here to, I get it, but if you're at a truly high traffic generating event, all right, you're not going to have time to sit there and go down 4 rungs on their genealogy, all right, with their, right, and what does your grandma do for a living? And oh, that's really nice. And what about that? And how about your sister-in-law? How, you know what I mean? Forget that, right? Hey, that's great. I'm glad you stopped by. It sounds like we got some things in common, but now let's get down to business. And then for me, I would roll into talking real estate. So tell me why you stopped in. What attracted you about my sign? Why? I found that people don't just roll in here because they've got nothing else to do. Sometimes that's the case. And if that is you, great. But hey, someone else just walked in. I'll be back in a minute, right? But if you've got a true interest, right, of real estate, let's talk about it. And then I would get these 4 questions answered. Can you guys see those there? All right. Buyers. Number 1, you got to establish, are they able to buy? Right? Most of you are not doing this well enough. All right. You're nervous. You're scared about answering the question. Right? Okay. Or you're scared about asking the question, I should say. Right? Now you don't say, hey, look, are you able to buy? But hey, you know what? Let's go back to Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca, what are your plans for financing? If you're going to purchase, are you looking to finance it? Are you looking to pay cash? Where are you in that process? Have you talked to anybody about financing? Have you ever bought a home before? Right? Those kind of things can get out pretty quickly, right? And so I can start to learn. And say, and by the way, it's not a problem because especially if you're a first-time home buyer, we got plenty of opportunities if you qualify. There's a lot of great programs out there to even help with what I've learned is one of the biggest hurdles is to owning. Most people would own if they had their choice, but a lot of times it's one of two things. It's either down payment or credit or both, right? But down payment may not be as big of an issue as you might think, right? I don't know what you've heard about or, but it takes a lot less money down than you might think. And then credit, there's a lot of great programs out there, but even if not, if you can't do it now, maybe we could put you on a program where we can get you set up where you can eventually, right? So I'd find out about the ability to buy. Number two is realistic. I referenced that earlier, right? If they're coming in saying, hey, yeah, I'm a buyer. If you find something 60% of market value, right? Well, not a buyer, right? Quit fooling yourself thinking that that's a buyer. That is not a buyer. Can you repeat after me? You're all on mute, but I want to see your lips move, all right? A guy looking for 60% of market value is not a buyer. All right, everybody understands that. Now you can nod your head that he is not a buyer. All right, okay. You're like running around bird dogging for these people, and you're spending all your days thinking you're busy. But remember, all right, up here, you see my arrow? We get paid on closed deals.
Amen.
We don't get paid on finding the needle in the haystack.
Amen.
Okay, so stop wasting the time searching for the needle. All right. So they're realistic. They need to buy / motivated, right? Somebody comes in, hey, yeah, well, that's great. But, yeah, if you could find something, and I'd probably like to buy, we just moved here about 6 months ago, and we want to, I like to get the lay of the land for at least 5 or 6 years before I decide to buy, right? I'm like, yeah, great. They're not going to work for me because I got bills to pay between now and 5 and 6 years from now, right? So, so I would say, hey, look, that's fine. All right, I'll put you on my drip campaign. Back in the day, I didn't have a drip campaign because I didn't have my own computer, right? So, but there was, John, you got something or you want it? Oh, okay. It's just a matter of, you're looking for people who, if I'm going to spend time, if I've got to put something under contract and get paid in the next 45 days, right? Then I need people that are more motivated than 5 or 6 years from now. Okay. Does that mean, that just, the calendar makes sense. Am I correct? Okay. All right. So they need to buy, and there's some motivation, and that motivation might be different things, right? Doesn't matter, but you're going to have that discussion. And number 4, and I put it in all caps, loyal to you. Loyal to you. It's a very critical 4th point. Remember, we got able to buy, realistic, needs to buy / motivated, and 4th one is loyal to you. And not loyal to you because they sign an exclusive buyer agency agreement. All right? Get those signed all day long. Go for it. Have fun with those. The next one of those that is ever taken to civil court and enforced will be the first one, at least on a residential deal. The exception might be is if you're working with a guy who's going to buy I think the largest commission we ever paid out at Future Home Realty was like a $487,000 commission. Yeah. All right. Some guy sold a mobile home park, right? It was like whatever that would be, $23 million mobile home park. And so the guy got to cash a, $487,000, commission check. By the way, I took all my $250 out of that $487,000. Took every penny, all right, out of that. But that'd be a nice payday. He worked many years on this deal, by the way. It didn't happen overnight. Okay. So it wasn't like, he just told him to. But reality is there. If I was going to work with that guy, I'd probably want an exclusive buyer agency agreement signed, and I'd probably have an attorney create it, right, to make sure it's as tight as possible. Because if I am going to get stiffed out of $487,000, then I probably will take that one to court, right? All right, if I've done all that work. But for you and your $180,000 buyer who ended up going to the for sale by owner instead of using you, all right, but they signed an exclusive buyer agency agreement, all right, well, for the $5,400, I get it. It hurts, but we're not taking them to court for $5,400. All right. Because by the way, that's how you enforce them. You don't go to the board of realtors. You take the buyer to civil court. All right, for breach of contract. It doesn't work real well too because they're all over your Facebook page telling everybody what an idiot you are and why they chose not to use you, even though they were your best friend yesterday. But now today, because you take them to court, it's it wouldn't end well, is what I'm telling you. All right, so cool. And then I have another script here. Anyone you're obligated to use script. I referenced it at our opening meetings. But you guys remember that I literally learned quickly in my career to have a discussion, say, hey, Rebecca, now that you're excited, we're ready to go take a look at some property this week. One thing I got to ask you real fast, do me a favor. Who's like the matriarch of your family, right? If somebody said, you do me a favor, go ask them, hey, and say, hey, mom, grandma, whoever that might be, right? Is there anybody that I'm related to that like I'd be obligated to use them as my realtor, right? Because I want to, and you laugh, and I say, I want to find that out now. I said, well, why do you? I said, well, literally, if it's gonna make up for like a terrible, really awkward Thanksgiving dinner, right? If you don't use your cousin Patricia to buy a home, then because I don't get paid, and by the way, I would talk to people early on, like really early on, about how I got paid, right? Because some people don't know. And at the end of the day, when they quote unquote burned me, right? If they burned me, it wasn't, some of it is spiteful, but most of the time it's not. It's like, oh, I had no idea. Because I had no idea you weren't getting paid by the hour or by the, you know what I mean? I thought you get paid like I did, right? I mean, people don't know what they don't know, and we can't expect them to know. And so I made sure they understood how I was paid, right? And part of that is I'd have that during this part here about, is there anyone you're obligated to use, right, in your family? Right? And they said, well, why do you ask that? I said, well, the reason is because a lot of times in the past, I found myself doing a lot of work, hoping you get to the point, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're obligated to use your cousin, and your cousin gets all the benefits of my work, and I get zero. Because I don't get paid until I get you to closing. I don't get paid up front for the Whitewater River raft trip, right? I get paid at the end, right? And the person who's the guide at the end in the boat is the guy who gets paid, or guy or gal gets paid. And if all of a sudden I get bumped out by your cousin at the last minute, right? Then they're the ones that get paid, right? And so I got to make sure that, because I got a family to feed. I've got, and then I'd even, if they really are questioning it, I'm like, look, let me ask you this. I mean, do you go to work with the anticipation of getting a check? And they're like, yeah, of course. I said, what would happen if you went and worked for 2 weeks and then didn't get paid? Would you go back? And they'd say, well, probably not. I said, yeah, for me either. Right? And so I can't afford to do that. People say, well, that's kind of rude. Here's the beauty. Do you understand that when you have a true, good traffic generating event, this can be a very natural, fun conversation. It's not, and can I tell you the secret? Get my list back out again. If you think your goal at an open house is to fill up a list, can I tell you, right? Lean in on this. I'm going to whisper this in case anybody else. You're never going to see these people again. Never.
True story.
Right. If they go, right, you might be best friends. You might, in your mind, saying, holy smokes, I can picture myself in the BMW 5 Series right now. Those people, I've got 3 people on my list out of these 12. These 3, I've got locked in, man. They gave me their stuff, said, call me back. I'd love to hear from you. And you're calling them back all next week. And you're like, you're going right to voicemail. And then you're sending them texts and they're not being responded to. And you're like, wait, what happened? And you're calling your BMW guy, say, hey, put that on hold for a minute, all right? Because what I thought was a done deal is not so much a done deal, right? You've got to get to the point where you're saying, hey, look, did you notice when I say, hey, Rebecca, now that we're ready to go look at property next week and we've got something on the calendar, right? I said, hey, look, let's do that. Now, here's the other thing. People ask me all the time, well, did I get them pre-qualified? Now, if I met Rebecca, all right, I'd say, hey, look, Rebecca, I'd inquire, but I have somebody, a lot of times, by the way, ladies especially, all right, but men as well, have open houses with a lender partner right there. Why not have, let's be full service, right? These lenders, holy smokes, open your email and ask me if there's a lender willing to do an open house with you, right? They're more hungry than you guys are, right? And so they'd be happy to sit there and pre-qual people as they walk in the door. If we got somebody that really, really needs to know, or at least have somebody that you trust on speed dial that will take your call on a Saturday afternoon, right? because you want to know, hey, look, because I don't want to wait till later. I want to know now, hey, Rebecca, hey, look, I did a soft poll. Everything looks good. She's told me she's been on the job for 6 months, and we're going to trust that that's okay. I ran her quick DTI, debt to income ratio. And by the way, that's all it takes to pre-qualify people, right? Give me a soft poll credit report, give me an idea, and let me know about job stability, and I can factor out the debt to income ratio and give you a pretty good picture of what we could qualify for, right? In literally 38 seconds, right? And that's all it takes. So with that in mind, if they're ready to go, say, hey, look, let's go take a look at, I'm going to email you some stuff later with some potential homes, but let's get something on the books. Right now, good houses are flying off the shelf, right? They're not sticking around long. So let's if we're going to send you a list, let's plan a time. Let's go, after work, good for you on Wednesday afternoon, or is there any other times? Well, how's your work schedule? Is it flexible? What can you do, right? I try and literally, because I know that if I don't get them on my schedule and have a plan, we're not, it's just not going to happen, right? So I was that bold, right? People say, well, I don't know if I'd be that bold. So, well, you're not going to sell 100 homes a year like I did either, right? So your choice. Okay, you decide. All right, I'm not here to beg you to do anything. All right, it's your business. All right, is everybody cool with the 4 questions? All right, or the 4 things we need to get, because when they pass all 4 criteria, then they are a buyer to me. All right, they're not a buyer because I have them on an automatic drip campaign through MLS. Right, that's not a buyer on my list. Right, a buyer on my list has met the 4 criteria. By the way, back to number 1, if they don't qualify, remember, I don't know if we've used this term with you guys, but we put them in the crock pot. We call crock pot buyers, right? We put them in the slow cooker. I'm not planning on eating them right away, okay? All right? They're going to be a later on deal, and we're going to just let them stew a little bit with a lender or a credit repair person or whoever's working with them, right? We'll come by every month or 2 and just lift the lid, sniff, and say, oh, up to 560, keep cooking, right? And then you keep, stick the meat thermometer in them to see if they're at temp yet. And temp is usually what, 620? Is that the magic number on a credit score? Right? So we're looking for 620. It'd be nice if we actually had a thermometer we could do, like hold up to somebody's ear and their credit score would just pop out. Wouldn't it be great? And we could say,
it's not, but thank you for calling.
Just pop them, and then we can know their credit score. Or people walk around with their credit score out over their, like a bubble over their head. All right, be even easier. So, all right. So when they leave, they should be wanting more, right? Like, oh, I can't wait to call them back, right? I used to say this term, my goal was for people to leave and say, you know what? I don't know if I'm ready to buy right now or not, but if I do, that's my dude, right? I've met my last realtor. That's the goal, right? Is you want them to say, hey, look, whether I'm ready to go or not, I don't know, but I'll tell you this, that guy seems to have his stuff together. That gal seems to have her stuff together. If I were going to do anything, it would be with Rebecca, with Margot, with Anna, with Brian, with Jorge. It would be, whatever. All right. That's the answers we want, right? We want that kind of stuff flowing. All right. And then finally, book another appointment. That we kind of referenced that already, right? Let's go look at property this week, right? If you feel there's someone worth your time, right? Remember, that's the whole attitude, is they've got to be worth your time. Cool. All right, now I know we took a lot of time on that, but I have to cover that mindset at the beginning of the whole corn planting idea, because I have found that's the biggest hurdle for most agents to get, right? Is the idea that they've got to convince you to work with them, right? They're not a buyer because they're on your list. They're a buyer because they've passed the 4 criteria test, right? And they're worthy of your time, right? It's not offensive to them, right? We're not, again, if they're not worthy and they actually somebody wants to buy, we can slow cook them and we're nice to them. But you can't plan on, I'm looking for microwave meal, all right? If you're going to plan on cashing a check in 45 days, right, you got to get somebody under contract in the next 7, right? It's just, the reality is that's what your pipeline needs to understand, okay? Fair enough? All right, let me open it up for questions. Remember to unmute yourself if you have any questions about what we just discussed, and then I'll cover real briefly at the end about finding like bank-owned open houses. Anybody have any questions on what we just did? Cool. All right. I know I spoke. John, you guys are good? Okay. All right. So how do I find a bank-owned open house? Okay. There is a search parameter in the MLS called REO, right? So if you want to go REO, if somebody take the lead and go do a search on the 100K Facebook page, and you can in the discussion search for bank foreclosure, and just put that in there, you'll find a thread. I created an email that someone could repost or just commenting on it so it gets pushed to the top, right? And you'll bump it. And there's a sample email that I suggest you send to an REO agent, right? And it's just kind of a, hey, look, I'm trying to create a win-win. Some of them are going to say no, and that's okay, right? That doesn't matter, right? But you're just trying to say, hey, look, I'm looking to create a win-win. I know a lot of times you're busy and too busy working deals to even worry about open houses, but maybe this would be something that you could show your asset manager you're going above and beyond. There might be even some things that I can do for you while I'm there, like you're supposed to take a picture of running water in the kitchen sink once a week, right? Proving that you've got the utilities on and so on and so forth, right? I'm happy to do that while I'm there, right? That saves you a trip having to go out there and do it. Make it a win-win, right? And to do it. And people, you understand that these do not have to be Future Home Realty agents if you're with Future Home. It doesn't have to be with your company. It can be outside your company. And that's not only okay, but more than fine, right? As long as you have written permission, an email saying go for it is written permission in my eyes, right? Hey, John, I just saw your listing at 123 Main Street. Was wondering if I could sit an open house at that open house this weekend. We talked a couple days ago about what I'd like to do. Just want to confirm that that's okay. Yeah, no problem. Go for it. Send from his phone, right? And that's all you need. Save it so you have proof that you have permission to be there doing an open house. Now, what do those signs look like? Somebody else will, when you put bank foreclosure, someone's going to find pictures of everybody else's bank foreclosure open house signs. They're out there, all right? Get an idea. Here's what you put on there. Bank foreclosure open house with an arrow, all right, directing them in. Now you can put your name and phone number on them. Here's the key. The only thing is that when it just says bank foreclosure open house, it doesn't have to say anything else because that by Florida law is considered a directional sign, right? The minute you put your name on there, then you have to put the name of your brokerage, right? Because now it becomes advertising as opposed to simply directional, all right? So the minute you put your name on there, that's fine. A lot of people do because they don't want them stolen. If they don't want, don't want generic signs, or they want somebody, hey, driving by, I can't go now, but let me write their number down. That's fine. But if you do put that on there, you have to put on there the name of your brokerage, all right? And you can just be aware, okay, that becomes advertised. And well, if you're not a team, you're still good. You can just put it on there somewhere. It's coming, just so you know that they're going to make you have your name can be no bigger than your brokerage has to be of equal size as your name. All right. Right now you're okay, but just if you're going to do it, it will eventually get to a point where we have to do that by rule. All right, to do that. So everybody cool with that? If you go search the 100K page on Facebook, you'll find a lot of people have posted copies of or other things that they've done with or great places to get signs for cheap, right? Whatever they might look like, okay? So how to get there. By the way, as you're out there searching for open houses and listing agents who will allow you to sit open houses at their foreclosures, if you get someone that says, yeah, go for it. And by the way, if any of your friends want, I got a list of 12, right? All right, then just put that on the Facebook page as well. If you got somebody, hey, look, I'm sitting one this weekend for Susan Smith, right? But she said she has other properties. If you guys want to reach out to her, you might want to check out her listings as well. Cool? Everybody got that? All right, not that hard. It's FIO, all right? That's when I kind of figure it out, right? You guys are all intelligent human beings here, all right? You figured you at least passed the real estate exam, all right? So you have that level of intelligence, all right? So I'm pretty sure you can figure out where to order bank foreclosure open house signs. All right, good deal. Now, some of you may have taken 12 times to pass the test, but we don't ask. We just say you passed. We don't know how many times it took. All right, we just know that you passed. So cool. Everybody good with that? That is corn. All right. Now, here's what I want you to do before we end the corn. Okay. Go implement. Right. Don't come back 2 weeks from now saying, oh, I think I'm about ready, right? No, just go do it, all right? I'm going to make t-shirts. You know what my t-shirts are going to say? Just do it. You think that's trademarked? I'm going to trade. You think that's taken already? Oh, it's taken. Nike's grabbed that one already? Okay, all right. But the reality is just do it, right? Don't sit there and talk about it. Don't think about it. One of my favorite, George Patton, you know, the World War II general, right? One of the favorite quotes from Patton says, a good plan executed today is far better than a perfect plan never executed, all right? And too many of us are waiting for the perfect plan before we take action, right? It's like, oh, I was going to, Bob, but you know what? I noticed on my desk that my red pens were mixed with my blue pens. So I spent the afternoon making sure my red pens were separated from the blue pens. And by the time I looked, I was out of time. Sorry, right? Forget that, all right? I'm a pretty organized guy. I like organization as well, but don't let the fact that you're OCD, right? By the way, you know the joke about OCD, right? True OCD people says it really shouldn't be OCD. It should be CDO because that's in correct order, alphabetically. but don't let anything inhibit you from actually taking action, right? Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Go screw up, right? Compared to what, right? Or if you're going to do some other stuff, by the way, last thing, I keep thinking there's more stuff. Don't think you have to sit. There is nothing in Chapter 475 of the Florida statute that says open houses have to be Saturdays and Sundays from 1 to 4, right? If you need business, right now we're in the midst of, I mean, there are snowbirds and people visiting Florida like nobody else, right? Just go look at take a look at the license plates as you drive around, right? There's half of them not Florida. Oh, John, there you go. Love it. Give us that sign. You're upside down now, John. There he comes. All right, see, there it is. Bank foreclosure open house. See, you guys, look at it. We're instantaneous in our doing it. I like the yellow. That's going to attract attention and everything else. That's perfect. Thank you, John.
I did my first one this weekend.
Was it a bank foreclosure?
Yes, I got in contact with a mortgage group, and they allowed me to do it. I went through the same script. I sent it out. This girl's name, Brittany. Yeah. And she allowed me to do it right away. It worked out.
Perfect. What kind of traffic did you have?
I had over, I mean, based on people that I really thought that they actually qualified, you know, like they need some work, but they really interested in or either purchasing or selling their property because of the property value of the place that I was. I had maybe like seven people out of like 15 that came in.
So you had 15 total roll through and 7 legitimate possibilities. See, I'm just telling you guys, there's a synergy. Like, holy smokes, what was I doing last 2 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. I was organizing my pens, right? But George decided, hey, look, I'm not going to wait for Bob to tell me what to do. I'm smart. I passed the test. I can figure this out, right? Okay, let me just jump in and go make something happen. So kudos to you, man. All right, great job. And it's really, guys, that simple, right? Now, here's the other thing, all right? Where do I do my open house? Right? Well, wherever you can get the one's going to generate the most traffic. It's not always the sexiest house, right? Most often not. It's the trashed house, right? Because people are coming thinking there's a deal, right? So kind of get off your high horse a little bit. If you came into this business thinking, hey, look, you know what? As soon as I pass the test, I get to drive a Jaguar and wear a Rolex, right? Okay, that's fine, right? If you've already got them before real estate, but you don't just, you know, at least here at Future Home, maybe your old offices did it, but I don't give you one as like a, you know, hey, special come on to, you know, employment gift, right? You don't walk in and get a free car lease. There's no company car here. All right. So if you're still waiting for that, you keep waiting. All right. But just go make it happen. So kudos to you, George. You go by George or Jorge?
George is fine.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Kudos to you, man. Great job. That's perfect. And it's really that simple, guys. Just go do it. Go make some mistakes. Go figure out what people are looking for and just go convert people and get them under contract, right? It's that simple because remember we get paid on those. Cool? Awesome. Good deal. All right. Perfect. Okay. All right. Generosity generation. We've got about 15 minutes left, so let me plow through this real quick. How many guys either have already read the book or read the book, 7 Levels of Communication? Good deal. Get some thumbs up. The ones that I can see, get some thumbs up. Good job. Okay, cool. Pretty easy read, right? In there, this is where we're going to really focus on our Orange Grove stuff, right? Well, we're going to get some long-term business. The cool thing is that what George did at his open house is planting corn, but it's really kind of unique corn, because if George takes care of that corn, it can morph into an orange tree, right? Okay, it's really unique stuff. And so sometimes that can be our sphere of influence, is the people we meet as we're building our business through corn, right? Other times it may be people that we already know, all right? So in there, I'm just going to go through, this is on my book, all right, The Generosity Generation Defined. It's kind of a little bit of a mind shift, right? It's stopping asking people what they can do for you, instead of saying, hey, what can I do? What can they do for me? And ask you, what can I do for you, right? It's the old way versus the new way. If you go look at some of these pages in the book, it's going to talk about the old way is to market to strangers, right? Do this mass marketing campaign, Zillow leads or whatever, trying to market to strangers and convince a group of strangers that you're the best. Or I can really hone into a smaller group. Remember, we teach 150 is all we need in our database, because 150 equals 22,500, right? Because those 150 know 150. And when you square 150, it gets big in a hurry, right? So, you know, if you're going to write any number down, write that number down, 150, because that's all you really need in your database, rather than 1,500 in my database. That's hard to service, right? But 150 I can do that with, all right? What can I do to help you, all right? What do you need right now? Remember, that's the whole goal when you get together with people, is instead of saying, hey, look, who are you, looking to buy or sell real estate, people start listening. You become the teacher on Charlie Brown in a hurry, right? They're like, I don't want, right? When you're trying to ask them for leads, right? Instead, hey, look, how can I help you? What's your biggest challenge right now? What's going on in your life, right? You start doing that enough, people will start to reciprocate back to you. It's just the way it works, all right? Upward spiral of life, I love this. We learn, we implement, okay? By the way, most of us miss the I, right? Okay, we learn something, you've got to implement it. So again, kudos to George for implementing. We learn it, we implement it, sometimes we fail, and then we evaluate our failure and make adjustments and say, okay, next time I'm going to relearn, and it's an upward spiral, because my new learning is based upon some actual implementation. So I've got a better body of work to work from, and so I can really make some adjustments based on actual action, not just theory. Are you with me? Right? It's so much better to learn from action than theory all day long, right? And that's why they have, I don't know if you know this, but I started out as a chemistry major in college, right, before I switched to math, but that's why they have labs, right? They have labs because they want you to experience this for yourself, right? They want you to see it and know what it feels like to titrate something and what happens when I add sodium chloride to this and there, you know what I mean? They just want you to experience that. You want doctors who have been in the lab at least working on a cadaver before they get a chance to open you up live, right? Okay, and so it's okay. So that's what we do. This is sometimes look at your first open houses as labs. Hey, look, and then evaluate it, right? What would I do differently, right? Well, I had no one through. Wow, I used bank foreclosure open house signs, but no one came. Well, then you realize, well, they'd have to go through 3 sets of gates and ask for permission and call me for the code. And by the time they got there, they just gave up, right? Or it was a really good one, but it was 52 turns, right? And one of my signs blew down and life's over, right? Okay, right? And now they got lost and now they couldn't find me, right? And you're like, how come I had nobody come through, right? Well, that's also why it's good to have it in pairs, because you can send somebody out to recon the area to make sure that everything's in order, that people can still find you, right? If you're not getting kind of traffic. But these are all learning experiences that you get because you actually implement, right? So we're going to learn, we're going to implement, we're going to fail, we're going to evaluate that learning, and then we're going to grow some more and start our next learning at a higher level because we're able to actually make some adjustments. Fair enough? Okay. Great stuff in the book. Communication pyramid, he introduces the whole idea that way down at the bottom, that's, trying to market to the masses. It's the least effective way to communicate with people. And the best way is face-to-face. That's why we teach that eyeball-to-eyeball concept, right? Ultimately, we would love to get eyeball-to-eyeball with them, right? At the very least, voice-to-voice. That's the next one down. I think it's like phone calls and that kind of stuff is voice-to-voice, right? If I can get voice-to-voice, I can tell how effective I am with people just by their voice intonation and everything else. And look for ways to earn the right to be referred. That's the whole bottom line. Is we don't earn the right to be referred just because we passed a real estate exam, right? We earn the right with most people because we've shown them that we're willing to help them. That's one way, right? And the second way is I'm worthy to be their guide down the river, right? I've guided other people through this river, so who better than me to be your guide? Right? And so just use that analogy. It's so simple and it makes so much sense that wouldn't you love to have a guide to get us down the river? And I want to earn the right to be your guide. I don't want you to be, you don't need to hire me to be your guide because, by the way, you don't hire me anyway, right? But I don't want you to use me to be your guide just because I tell you, all right? But let me show you, right? Give me a chance. Let's go look at some properties and let's take a look at a few. And you would ask me what I think about this property. I'm going to show you how I would go through the evaluation process on this and say, even if this is not the right one for you, this is what we will do when we find the right one, right? It's that positive affirming when we get to closing. I was always speaking in the affirmative tones, not if we get to closing, when we get there. Hey, when we write this contract, I would give them a copy of the FAR bar contract like the first time we go to look at property. Say, hey, read over this just because when we write our first offer, all right, then this is the offer we're going to use. So why don't you glance over it? There's not too bad a legalese, but I know that thing really well, but I want you to know it well too, so you know the kind of questions. And if there's anything that jumps out at you, let me know, right? So we can kind of cover that on the. But it's always like, hey, look, it's the assumptive close, right? There's nothing wrong with that because it's nothing wrong with saying, hey, look, when we get to the home base at the end of the river rafting trip, all right, we'll have a nice party together and sip an iced tea, right? Because we're expecting to make it there, right? Okay, so we want to have that assumption that we're going to make it through the process. Cool, all right. So look for ways to earn the right to be referred, all right. And then finally, all right, last 7 minutes. Don't forget our commitments because remember our goals are to be attractive. Right? So part of our attractiveness is we've got to be willing to change. We've got to be honest and accountable. We're going to read a book a month. We're going to get 8 hours of sleep a night. We're going to drink 64 ounces of water a day. We're going to do 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise. We're going to volunteer at a nonprofit, right? 4 hours a month. Go find that. These are all things that you should be tasking yourself to do. You and your accountability partner should be working. Hey, how are you doing? Have you found your nonprofit place yet? Those kind of things. Those are the discussions you need to be having. All right. Talk about the idea of where you're going to donate your income. Once again, I sometimes get to the very end of the intro sessions and I don't have enough time to cover this in depth, but it can be a church, synagogue, or other nonprofit. I get most of us can't live on 90% of what we have. All right. I get it. Right. Here's the reality. All right. You can't live on 90% of 50,000. You can barely live on 100% of 50,000, but you certainly can live on 90% of 200,000, right? Because it's actually 3 times almost, well, better than 3 times what you're living on 50,000, right? And the reality is that once you learn that if you commit to this, now again, I think I touched on some of the groups that I even teach at what we call a 10-20-70 rule, right? Where I'm going to learn to live on 70% of my income because 10% I'm going to give, I'm going to donate. 20% I'm going to invest or save, right? And then I'm going to learn to live on 70. If we can get to the 10-20-70 rule, right? My boys, every time they earn $1, they know 10-20-70, right? It's just the way it goes, right? It's just, that's just, and it's just, if you can get used to that, right? Life is much better. I wish someone would have taught me when I was 17 how to 10-20-70, right? So. Worship once a week. Find a place to go find out with some like-minded, happy, onward and upward motivated kind of people, right? Don't go hang out with negative Nellies, right? Find somebody else. All right. All this is going to require discipline and accountability, and you should be finding an accountability partner. Cool. It's not going to be easy, but it will be a defining time. All right. We have, according to my watch, 5.5 minutes left because I promised to get you out of here on time. Anybody have any thoughts on either the book, open houses, anything they're going through that I can help with right now? Remember to unmute yourself if you need to.
I wanted to share just a positive
Love it.
quick story.
Yeah.
But just going back to giving back and things come back to you was after I read the 7 levels the first time, I had it in my head. And one day I had heard my next door neighbor, who I never met because he was handicapped, had passed away and his lawn was getting a little long. So I took my John Deere over when I was doing my lawn and I was doing his lawn. And then his brothers walked out the front door who are out of town. And they're like, oh, who are you and what are you doing? So ended up a conversation with them. They said, we're in town getting his house ready for sale. And I said, have you talked to anybody already? And they've already interviewed 3 agents. And I said, I love the opportunity if I could come back when I'm not in my work, in a lawn clothes.
Right.
And I prepared a listing presentation, went back the next day, got the listing, sold the house. And then one of those brothers lived in the same town and he was going through some health problems, and what he thought was one issue turned out to be terminal cancer, and he just passed away. So I've been very ingrained with the family now for a few months, well, 6 months, and so when he went into the hospital, I sent flowers because I just truly cared about this family now.
Sure.
And so when he passed away, his son, who I'd never spoken to, reached out to me and said, we need to sell his house. Now, can you sell his house? So it all started from mowing lawn, and now I've got a very devoted family that, so it was a mindset from the book. It just kind of goes all back to that.
That is an awesome story. And that is exactly what I think Michael was thinking of when he talks about the generosity generation, right? You didn't do it with the intent of, hey, look, I'm going to get a listing out of this. It's just it's the do the next right thing, right? I've got some time and that is awesome. And that is just a perfect story. And now, quite frankly, that family is one of your orange trees. It really is, right? Because there are several stories like that, and you guys all probably have them, that, everybody has a family doctor or the family attorney. You want to be the family realtor, right? Here's the realtor that our family uses, right? Period. End of statement, right? You want to be that person because that is like gold, right? And because they've got somebody they know and trust, they know you're the right guide to take them down the river. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Rebecca. I thought you were going to ask us for a migraine cure, and I don't have one, unfortunately. You get a good night's, you get a good amount of sleep somehow or something. Just try and, I don't know any other answer. Anybody else have anything while we got anything coming?
I have one question.
Yeah, Brian.
You said you're assigning us books. Can you give us a list of the books you're going to be assigning so I can get the copies of them?
Yeah, good question. I'll do that in the next week or so because I kind of change up depending on. I take it right now. No new book assigned for this next 2-week session.
Okay.
Right. We'll take it from there. But so you can finish up this other book if you haven't already, and then I'll try and get you the next book to read at least. There are several that I have that I flow through, just depending, and a lot of it depends on the attitude of the group, not positive or negative, just where I feel the group is flowing a little bit, right, or where there might be a better need of some things. So it's a great question, but I'll try and give you plenty of advance notice.
Thank you.
Good question, though. Anybody else? All right, last thing, let's talk about our next. I don't know if I even mapped out our next meeting. So technically, if we were on a 2-week schedule, that would be Wednesday the 4th. I can do it. I have that first Wednesday of the month is my Orlando office meeting in the morning, and we're done by 9:30 to 11. And I've got some let's do that. I'm gonna probably, it might be a kink, all right, and I apologize, but I can do it. I'll just do it right from there. How about if we do 11 to 12:30 again on Wednesday the 4th? All right, so we'll shoot for that. If you miss one, by the way, it's okay. We'll record them, and so you can always come back and grab them. I'm going to encourage you, if you guys can, within your on the Facebook page, maybe reach out, because ideally, try and get together with your accountability partner between now and then, and maybe see if there's a couple other people that you guys can meet with to try and brainstorm some ideas about some stuff going back and forth. So as of right now, let's leave it at 11 to 12:30 on Wednesday the 4th for our next Zoom meeting. Cool. As always, reach out, join the book or the 100K Club Facebook page, and ask tons of questions there if you have anything going forward. Cool. All right. Great to see or hear you guys. Hope you have a wonderful afternoon. If you need anything else generically, let us know as well.
Thank you, Bob.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.